looking at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Chevrolet Equinox. In this video, you're going to learn everything you need to know about the new cluster along with all of the different steering wheel buttons. If you're in one of the last generation versions of the vehicle and you want to walk through on the old analog version or the infotainment system, you'll find those down in the description of this video. But let's dive in and I'll show you what you need to know. So starting off with all the different stalks and buttons, let's go with the left one first. So left side is going to be for your blinkers, obviously. Then you can also flash your high beams out. Inside of the infotainment system, you've got a few other options. So you could tap this to get to a series of advanced controls. You can tap here in order to get to some individual light controls. But if you move into your controls and then go to more, lights, that gives you a boatload of different options here. So you can see your dome light, so the overhead light. You can toggle your fog lamps on or off. You can put yourself into an auto high beam mode, which I always recommend, especially if you're driving around in the auto headlamp mode. So what happens here, if the vehicle recognizes that your high beams are needed, when you're in the auto mode, it turns them on automatically. If somebody's oncoming, it dims them, or turns them off, I should say, before turning them right back on again. If you wanted to permanently lock your high beams out though, just go into the headlamp mode there. And then all you're gonna do, push away to turn those high beams on. You can push away or pull towards you in order to turn them off. It's just that when you're in the auto headlamp mode, what's going to happen is, with that auto high beam mode enabled, it's going to turn your high beams on automatically. So you've got that available as an option. And then there are a series of other options inside of the screen. The other one that I'm going to show you here that would be useful, let's see here, if we go into System, Units, Metric versus US. So if you're going cross-border, you'd be able to change it out, miles, kilometers per hour, etc. And then it even changes up the climate underneath the screen. Just to the left-hand side of the cluster, you've got a series of other buttons that are available. This one is going to be for your parking brake. So you just tap to turn it on, hit the brake, tap again in order to turn it off. You can switch between either front-wheel drive mode or in all-wheel drive mode if you'd like to. All-wheel drive, way better off-road. If you want to go into the front-wheel drive mode, that's going to give you the flexibility of having better fuel economy. Auto hold is available here too. So with this system actually enabled, when you're in drive, if you come down to a complete stop, you take your foot off the brake, the car is not going to move. There's also the auto start stop system. So same idea. So when you come down to a complete stop, you might notice that the engine turns off. So it's essentially just gone into a gas saving mode. You can toggle that one off if you'd like to. And every time you restart the car, you'd have to toggle that back off again if you'd like. There's also a switch here in order to be able to adjust the brightness of the cluster screen. Then you've got a button on the tip of the left stick. So if you were to just tap that button, that's going to give you one windshield wipe. If you do a push and hold, that's going to get your windshield wiper fluid going. And then you've also got a few different modes. So you've got a rocker along the left-hand side. That's going to be for your windshield wiper speed. The one over is going to be for your rear windshield wipers. You can then push down in order to get that rear windshield wiper fluid going. So you've got different options available there. Along the right-hand side is going to be your shifter. So you just hit the brake there. You're going to pull in order to get yourself into neutral. You then go up into reverse, drop down into drive, and then you could tap again in order to get into park. Now, there's kind of like a fine spot. So from reverse into drive, pretty straightforward. To get into neutral, just across the board, just pull and hold in for a second in order to do that. In order to be able to get into your low gear, once you're actually in drive, so pull in, go into drive, along the left-hand side of the steering wheel there, you've got your L button. So you're going to tap that, and then that also gives you the flexibility of utilizing the paddle shifters. So low gear paddle shifters. So what I want you to think of this for your low gear there, minus on the left-hand side, plus on the right-hand side. So if you need a little bit of extra RPMs in order to speed the vehicle up to pass somebody, you can tap that in order to make that happen. And then the right button there in order to increase your gear. You can also use it for engine braking if you're towing. But if you actually want to walk through in a live demonstration on how paddle shifters work, check down in the description of this video for a little walkthrough on how that's done. You've also got some buttons in behind the steering wheel. So the ones along the right-hand side are going to be for adjusting your audio volume. And the ones along the left-hand side are going to be for adjusting out all of your presets. So you can see along the screen here, we're moving between all of our active presets. I love that they've done that. You've got the flexibility of using the volume rocker above the screen in order to be able to adjust your volume that way, but not having to take your hands off the steering wheel is also pretty useful. and so many other different buttons. The ones along the left-hand side are going to be for cruise control. So you can toggle your cruise control on this way. So just by tapping the button, you know that it's on. As you can see along the bottom part of the steering wheel. And then in order to set your speed, you then push down in order to set your speed. You then either push up or down to increase or decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time. You can push and hold up or push and hold down in order to bring you to the next 5 or 0. So let's say if you've got it set at 37, push and hold up, it'll bring you to 40, 45, 50, etc. Push and hold down to do the opposite. You can hit the brake to cancel your speed. You can hit the little X button there to cancel your speed. And then you just push up in order to resume your previously set speed. Now, there are 2 different types of cruise control inside of this ride. There is normal cruise, so your old school, and then there's the adaptive cruise control. With the adaptive cruise, you've got your distance indicator here, so a gap adjustment. How close or far are you away from the vehicle that's in front of you? Recommend level 1 on residential streets, and then highways and stop and go traffic if you're moving slower. You might want to be on level 3 though, just depending on your own personal comfort level. So let's say if you've got it set at 80, car in front of you slows down, yours is automatically going to brake. If they change lanes, you change lanes, it's going to pick you back up to your previously set speed. If you prefer the old school cruise control, your little cancel button there to cancel your speed, if you push and hold that button, that is going to bring you into your regular cruise. So push and hold again to get back to the adaptive. Your regular cruise is the old school cruise. So you set it at 80, car in front of you slows down, yours is not going to brake. So you just have to be paying more attention that way. I'm a bigger fan of using the adaptive cruise. I use it pretty much all the time. But if you want a live demonstration of actually using cruise control, check down in the description of this video for a little walkthrough. The buttons along the right-hand side of the steering wheel give you so many options. You can answer or hang up on a phone call this way if you'd like to, with your phone connected. There's a voice command prompt. You'll be able to do things like change radio stations, you can navigate using your voice, and so many other things. On top of that, when you've got a phone connected, so a short button push is a button push in order to get to your voice assistant. A longer push and hold on that button, if you don't have a phone connected, would let you connect a phone, but that long button push and hold would also activate either your Siri or your Google Assistant on your phone. You can push here in order to see all of your available sources. There's a switch there in order to go between. I'll show you that one last. If your Equinox has a heated steering wheel, you can toggle it on this way, and it's heated all the way around. And then you've also got a switch along the bottom right-hand side to change out what's going on inside of that cluster screen. So you've got different options there. One thing I didn't point out, the steering wheel inside of the ride is going to be manual telescoping. So just in between your legs there in the middle of the column, there's a release to go in, out, up and down to find that perfect position for you. Once you find it, click it in order to lock it back into place. Inside of the cluster screen, along the top left-hand side there, you can see the current direction you're facing. Top right side is your outside temperature. Bottom left side, your current fuel level. We're in all-wheel drive mode right now, because this is the all-wheel drive version. As you move between different drive modes that are available, that's going to play with things like traction, stability control, things like that. But you'll also be able to tell what mode you're in along the bottom part of the cluster screen there. Just normally recommend keeping yourself in the auto mode. You can see your current vehicle odometer, whether you're in park, reverse, neutral, drive, or when you're in drive there, your dedicated low gear, and whatever gear you're currently in there. Pretty simple. You can see along the right side how many people are in the vehicle, whether or not their seatbelts are plugged in, yay or nay. And then you've got a few other things. You've got your fuel gauge along the bottom left-hand side. You've got your fuel gauge along the top in the middle here too. You've got your little RPM counter along with your digital speed, and then your engine temperature there too. If cruise control is disabled, that message goes away. Then, on the steering wheel, you've got a few different buttons here. So, if we go back into our audio for a second there, you can see all of your available audio sources. You could dive into any of those sources if you'd like to, and then you'd be able to move between all of your different presets using the buttons behind the left side of the steering wheel. On this screen, you can then move between all of your radio favorites. So without pressing the actual radio button there, you'd then be able to move between all of the different favorited stations. So just by moving up and down this way, or 97.7 FM.
Okay, streaming 97.7 FM.
You can tune to a station that way. So you've got a lot of options available there. And then you've got the flexibility of hitting this button. And when you do that, like this, full map and cluster view. And it just kind of changes up the look. When you're in this view, you obviously wouldn't have a traditional tachometer. This view gives you more of like a driving assistance focused. So you can see there, you still got your counters there. If your cruise control system was turned on, enabled, things like that, with your different gap adjustment options there. So it looks pretty neat as you go to drive. One more button push gives you more of like a relaxed kind of calming view. So you don't have quite as much information inside of that screen. One neat thing is that when you've got an active route going, look at this. So you've got your turn-by-turn directions right inside of the cluster screen there. And then when we go into our map view, full mapping cluster. I love that. So you've got some different views and some different looks that are available. When you're in that more calming view, your map wouldn't be there. I know that's a lot of information, but that's everything that you need to know about the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Chevrolet Equinox.